دي فاطمة ليش رايحة اليوم في نفسي؟ شلون عم تبعتي بناتك يا ابن امك؟ واحدة 9 سنوات وواحدة 7 سنوات صغار على الجهاد هذول.
ما عاد في حدا صغير لأنه هلا الجهاد فرض على كل مسلم كبير وصغير.
دي فاطمة ليش رايحة اليوم في نفسي؟ وين؟ ما تخافي مو؟ لأن أنت رايحة عند الله مو هيك؟ الحمد لله رب العالمين. قول الله أكبر.
الله أكبر.
Overseas this evening and to a chilling image. Authorities say they stopped a child suicide bomber moments before he detonated his explosives. ABC's chief foreign correspondent Terry Moran with the images and the story of a father who sent in his son.
The drama unfolded on a darkened street in the city of Kirkuk in northern Iraq. Two police officers desperately holding the suspect, arms outstretched. And he's just a kid, standing there stripped and scared. You can see the fear in his face. And strapped around his torso, the suicide bomb. Carefully, the bomb is removed. And the boy rushed to safety, surrounded. His cries piercing the night. And then into custody for questioning. His bomb detonated by an explosives team. He is 12, maybe 13 years old, police say, and he told police his own father, an ISIS commander, sent him and his brother on their suicide missions. His brother blew himself up elsewhere in the city. All this less than 24 hours after that horrific suicide bombing at a wedding in Turkey. The Turkish president saying the bomber there might have been as young as 12. But officials now hedging on that claim. There's a long and bloody history of using children as suicide bombers by ISIS, by the Taliban, by Boko Haram in Nigeria. The UN says the tactic is on the rise around the world. David?
Terry Moran with us tonight. Terry, thank you.
Story. Barbara, a remarkable story. What's the reaction from military leaders there?
Well, Jessica, this is a real tragedy for the young children of Afghanistan. We have a comment now from General John Allen, the top U.S. general in Afghanistan. He has issued a scathing statement about the Taliban using young children as potential suicide bombers. Let me just quote for a minute. General Allen saying, quote, "The cold tactic of using any human being, especially children, to conduct suicide attacks is utterly despicable, and I denounce these attacks." He's saying this because of this very extraordinary situation. Young children, and we have some photos to show you, we've blurred their faces, arrested again, this time by Afghan security officials for being part of a suicide bomb network. These children are recruited by the Taliban and brought in to conduct suicide bomb attacks. They are told that they can detonate their vests, kill foreigners, and that they will still be safe. Young, impressionable children. And in Afghanistan, these boys, about 10 years old, these young boys are often out on the street trying to earn any money they can to support their families. This is a very dire way of doing that. Jessica?
I just hate hearing stories like that. Let's stay in Afghanistan on another story. CNN was the first to report about the U.S. meeting with the Taliban. Do you have more details on that?
Jessica, indeed, our own Nick Patton-Walsh is reporting that the Taliban are acknowledging they met with U.S. officials to discuss some sort of peace, but that they don't want to meet with the government of Hamid Karzai. They don't support that government. They believe it's illegitimate. And that might be a real showstopper because the U.S. is going to need the Taliban with all of their violent tactics attacking the government of Afghanistan to accept Karzai's government if U.S. troops are really going to find a peace there so that they can come home. So still a little progress, but a long way to go if the Taliban won't work with Karzai's government. Jessica.
Interesting. All right, Barbara, thank you for those updates.
Now to Turkey, where a bomber attacked a wedding Sunday. Now authorities say they believe that bomber was a child, possibly as young as 12.
CBS 2's Holly Williams has more on the deadly attack from Istanbul. The bride and groom survived the attack and were taken to hospital apparently in shock after their wedding party became the scene of a massacre. Gaziantep is just 40 miles from the Syrian border, and ISIS is the most likely culprit, according to Turkey's president. So far, the extremists haven't claimed responsibility. But if the suicide bomber was indeed a child, it wouldn't be the first time that ISIS has exploited the innocent to carry out acts of heinous violence. In the Iraqi city of Kirkuk yesterday, security forces say they stopped this boy who was wearing a suicide vest and prevented him from detonating himself. This boy turned himself in to police in Baghdad in 2014, asking them to cut off his suicide vest because he didn't want to blow himself up. ISIS isn't the only militant group to use child suicide bombers, but what is unusual is the role of children in their propaganda videos, in which they've repeatedly been shown apparently carrying out executions. Most of the videos are simply too disturbing for us to show you. Imagine the damage done to the children involved. Turkish officials say they're trying to identify the young suicide bomber. They're apparently examining the remnants of the suicide vest, which was found at the scene. Holly Williams, CBS News, Istanbul.
Turkish officials say at least 51 people were killed in that attack.
UNICEF has reported that Boko Haram's use of child bombers has increased over the last year, with 1 in 5 suicide attacks carried out by children. Data from the UN's Children Agency show that 44 children were used in suicide attacks in northeast Nigeria and neighboring countries in 2015, compared with 4 from the previous year. The report Beyond Chibok shows that last year, children were used in half of the attacks in Cameroon, 1 out of 8 in Chad, and 1 out of 7 in Nigeria. It also showed that girls accounted for 3/4 of child suicide bombers in 2015. The report also noted that more than 1.3 million children had been forced from their homes. In its report, UNICEF said it needed $97 million to provide vaccinations, schooling, drinking water, mental health aid, and other assistance to families affected by activities of Boko Haram. It said it had so far received $11 million.
When 13-year-old Ali Ahmed says he wants an education, he is not talking about the education he already has.
I was taught how to use guns and weapons, and they also taught me how to do a suicide attack by pressing some button. They told me I would be paid a lot of money.
Ali lost both of his parents when he was younger. He and his younger brother were living in their uncle's home in Pakistan's Baluchistan province. 3 months ago, he ran away.
I met 3 people near the border and asked them to give me a job. They asked me to come with them. When I went, they grabbed me and put something over my eyes, so I could not see, and they tied my hands and tied my legs. They took me to a training center, where I trained for 20 days.
Ali's recruiters then showed him the American base in Spin Bolda, where they wanted him to attack using a suicide vest.
They said when you do the suicide attack, you will go to heaven, even if you kill just 1 American in this attack. I said that I would be killed too, but they told me that my soul will be in peace.
Ali says he knew what would happen if he detonated the vest and was thinking of ways to escape. But before he could carry out his mission, suspicious residents turned him in to security forces. Over the past year, Kandahar officials say insurgents have chosen to fight fewer face-to-face battles with troops. Instead, they say, militants favor suicide attacks and are increasingly relying on children to carry them out. General Abdul Razak is Kandahar's acting police chief.
Using children is a new enemy tactic. Children are given 50 to 100 Afghanis to carry things. They don't know what they're carrying, and the control to detonate the bomb is with someone else. When the kids reach the tanks or police vehicles, the enemies blow them up. Many kids are told they'll survive. Children cannot judge, and the older ones no longer want to do it.
The Afghan Taliban, the main militant group in the province, insists it never uses children for insurgent activity. A Taliban spokesman, Karya Safamadi, says the practice goes against Islam. Ali remains in custody of the country's main spy agency. Officials say they do not know what to do with him. Ali has no family, and shelters refuse to take him. Ali says he worries about his younger brother and would rather be studying and playing like other boys his age. This is Bethany Maddox for VOA News in Kandahar.